I'm Bergen, and I'm going to show you how to take the measurements I need you to take if you're getting a long distance custom made overbust corset from me. The things that we will need you to have when you're getting ready to measure yourself is a tape measure, obviously, and a pen and paper for writing down all the measurements. I'll write a list under this video so that you can just copy that down and make sure that you've got everything you need. And finally, a bit of elastic or string, which I use to tie around my waist, which helps me with my other measurements later on. So first thing I'll do is talk about how you find your waist. Now, it used to be thought that it was just the narrowest point on your body, which on me would be about here. However, if I squeeze there, I hit ribs quite quickly, and this is where the reduction on your corset's going to be, is your waistline. So we want someone with a bit more squish, and on me I know that's about 1 inch below, and the reason I know that is because I can really sort of squidge in there much more than I can there. Another way to find it is when you bend over, feel the point at which you're bending or forward, but on a bigger tummy like mine, it's just easier to just see where squishes the most. Down there's too low, I'm hitting hips. Up here's too high, I'm hitting ribs. So there's my waist there. So what I'm going to do is get my piece of elastic. I'm going to tie that around my waist. And that means that for all the future measurements where I'm measuring from my waist to the top or bottom or whatever, I know that I've remembered where my measured waist was. And with all of these horizontal measurements, it's really important to keep it parallel to the ground, make sure it's not riding up or down. So there's my waist, that's where I'm going to want my corset to squidge in. So first thing I do is I measure that one. And you don't pull it tight or squeeze or anything like that, it's just your relaxed measurement across your elastic. And again, have a quick check in the mirror that it's not, sorry, something's going on outside, that it's not rucked up at the back or slipping down. So you write down that measurement, and we also need the bust measurement. And again, we want to be careful that we're keeping the tape parallel, and we're wanting to take the measurement across the widest point of the bust, so usually where the seam in your bra is. That's when I'm turning sideways, but easier to see the silhouette. Here's the fullest part of my bust. So I'm going to make sure my tape measure is parallel. And I'll check the other side of the mirror, don't take anything for granted. Yeah, that's it. I'll take my measurement from there. And finally, for the horizontal measurements, we're going to go for your hip. Now, there are various types of hips, but the one we're interested in is roughly a high hip, where you're going to have your corset ending. So I'm feeling here for my hip bones. This is roughly where I'm going to want my corset to come to. I'm not going to want it to come too low, as tempting as it might be to cover the whole stomach. If it was that low, then when I sit down, it's going to jab into the top of my thigh. So bear that in mind when you're thinking about where you want your corset to come down to. But I would usually have my corset come down to about there, in a sort of curve like that. So my hip measurement, I'm going to take there on the fullest part of where I want that corset to end. So going across these hip bones here, I have to dig about to find them, but they are there. And I'm just going to go across like that, and again checking in the mirror that everything's parallel, and take my measurement from there. Now, I need to know the distance from your bust measurement to your waist measurement, and your waist measurement to your hip measurement. So I'm going to take my tape measure, take it on that point where I measured my bust, and take it to the piece of elastic. And there's my bust to waist. And then I'm going to find that hip bone again, about there. And I'm going to take my measurement from my waist to the hip bone there, and note that down. As long as you do these reasonably sort of central front in this sort of area, that should be fine in terms of the measurements that I need. Now, the other measurements that we need are fashion measurements. So these are the measurements that tell me not so much how your body is made up, but how to make the corset to fit your desires. So first thing you want to know is, because a corset is often sweetheart neckline like that, I need to know how high you want it to come up here. So usually I would take a bit of a sweetheart going like that. Maybe you want a big plunge, maybe you want it quite high and you don't actually want it to go down too much. No problem at all, I just need to know. So let's say that I want my corset to come up to there. I'm going to take that as my centre front waist to top measurement. Like I say, these will all be listed below the video, but this is the centre front waist to top. That's what that one is. And then I'm going to take the waist to mid-bust top, because again, like I say, very often people want sweetheart. If you don't, just email me, we'll sort something out. But so your point here, you don't want it to be this high all the way around, otherwise your boob's spilling out. So we're going to see where we want it to go to. I like a sort of mid bit of coverage there, so I've taken it across the curve of my bust, down to the waist there, and that is the measurement for mid-bust, waist to top. So that's mid-bust, waist to top there. And I'm also going to want to know how long you want it in the front. Like I say, do bear in mind, put your hands there and bend forward, sort of simulate sitting down to check that it's not going to dig into your thighs. If you've got it all the way down here, as soon as you sit down, it's going to hurt. So unless you want something that you are going to just stand around in all day, which you might. So I'm going to take my corset to finish about here. So it's sort of like on the crest of that tummy roll. Just about there is where I want it to stop. So again, I take it from my waist tape here, and this is the centre front waist to bottom measurement. That's centre front waist to bottom. Okay. Now we need to do the sides of your corset, because again, you don't want it coming all the way around. We're going to need to dip down to give your arm freedom to move. Now there's worth bearing in mind where your bra ends is quite comfortable, because the tendency is to want it to come up quite high, but you will find that a bone might dig into your underarm there. So I'm going to go from where my bra is, and I'm going to go there to waist, and that is my side waist to top measurement. That's side waist to top. Okay, and the same with the hip here. I want it to sort of like come up a bit to about here, feeling sort of where my knicker line is there. That's kind of where I want it to be. So I'm going to go from there, and that is my side waist to bottom measurement. That's side waist to bottom measurement. And now we just need to do those waist to top and waist to bottom measurements on our back. Now if you've got somebody to help you, this is really great, but if not, you can do it on your own, and I'm going to show you how. So first of all, I turn to my back, and I'm going to put my tape measure over my shoulder like that and kind of hold it there. So first thing I want to do is make sure that my tape is, I might look like a bit of an idiot, but if you're on your own, you're on your own, is hold it sort of on top of my head there so it comes to there. And I know that I like my corsets to come about here. So I'm going to grab the tape measure there. That's the measurement that you need, and that is centre back, waist to top. Centre back, waist to top. And again, we're going to do the back, and again, I might want to lean backwards. I want flexibility in this, so I don't want to go too low. If I lean backwards, it's just going to get uncomfortable. So again, I'm kind of feeling for my knicker line there, which is about there. So I'm going to put the tape measure there, and I'll feel my way up to this elastic here. And that measurement there is centre back, waist to bottom. That's centre back, waist to bottom. So they're all the measurements you need, except for one vital measurement. And this last measurement is about how much squish we're going to get into your corset, how much you want to reduce your waist by. And I won't be making it to squish your ribs or your hips or anything like that, just concentrating the reduction here on your waist. So the way I like to do that is to get a tape measure, kind of squeeze tight on what's comfortable. So I know that about there, that's quite comfortable. If I sort of hold it there, breathe in and out, that's absolutely fine. It's a bit of a pinch, but not too much. If you're going for extreme, you can squeeze it in like that, but bear in mind that's going to be quite uncomfortable. So yeah, I've decided that's about the level of squeeze that I'm comfortable with. Bit of movement, yeah, no, that would be fine. And I'm going to have a look. Hold that, and that is my reduced waist measurement. My reduced waist measurement there. And the difference is what I'll use to make that glorious hourglass curve in your corset. Okay, well hopefully this has been helpful. Like I say, there's a list of the measurements that are needed underneath the video. Have a look. If you have any questions at all, just get in touch. Maybe you could take a photograph of yourself with the tape measure if you want to check that you're measuring in the right place, anything like that. Always happy to help, because this is the most important bit, is that we get the measurements right, because then the corset will be glorious.